This story right here is a bit different from everything I've already brought to the channel. Just picture something like Alice in Borderland mixed with Mirai Nikki and a touch of Batum. If you're younger, maybe you haven't heard of these amazing anime, but trust me down here in the basement, because I picked a really solid series with tons of chapters. The main character was deeply in love with his childhood friend. However, our boy here had a serious issue. He simply didn't have emotions, so he had no idea how to express his feelings. That's because he was born as a psychopath. His mother died right in front of him, and he didn't react at all. Because of that, he ended up being adopted by another family and grew up alongside his friend. Since he was different and completely emotionless, he got bullied at school, and it was always Alice who stepped in to protect him. He was already in college, and it was her birthday, so he decided to give her a dress as a present. But Alice, the girl he liked, said that the dress looked way too childish. She gets pretty annoyed, but Ning tells her he imagined she would look cute wearing it. Hearing that, Alice's cheeks turn red, and right away she hugs him, completely catching the guy off guard. Right after that, she tells him to promise he would never leave her, and out of nowhere she goes in and plants a big kiss on the MC. Our boy didn't hesitate and actually showed some boldness. Bro switched modes real quick. However, someone ends up taking a picture of that sweet moment between the two. You can already tell this series has a pretty dark vibe. You'll see. When it was time to head home, she became super shy. She knew her best friend Ning wasn't good at showing emotions. Because of that, she starts thinking he was just pretending to like her. So she decides to distance herself. She even apologized for forcing him into that kiss. The next day, he keeps trying to message his friend. One of his friends knocks on his door and says he wants to invite Ning to a party, celebrating his relationship with a new girl. But the MC wasn't really interested at all. His friend insists it's really important for Ning to come, since it's his first girlfriend. Ning asks who's going to be at the party, and his friend lists a few girls and even mentions Alice. That was the perfect chance for him to see her again, since she wasn't replying to his messages. As soon as they arrive at the restaurant, some people are already there talking about some gruesome deaths. Recently, a few people had died in public. The way they died? Yeah, I'm not saying it here, no spoilers. They basically exploded and turned into pieces like Lego. Yeah, not exactly a peaceful ending. The MC's friend's girlfriend finally shows up, and our boy notices that Alice is standing behind the blonde. He instantly gets emotional. She also sees her friend and feels embarrassed. She even remembers the kiss from the night before, and has no idea where to hide her face from all the embarrassment. The MC had noticed a glowing mark on his friend's neck, but he didn't say anything. And when the guy got close to his girlfriend, that mark suddenly started shining intensely, and just like that, he exploded into pieces. The guy literally turned into tiny Lego-like pieces. The crowd completely lost it, running in every direction. But then that same mark appeared on Ning's neck as well. A system message popped up in his vision, welcoming him to the game Kill My Love. The system explains that he cannot get close to Alice or one of them will die. Of course, Ning is instantly shaken. Now both of them have been dragged into this game. Alice wonders why Ning is just standing there and tells him to run outside the restaurant. He even takes a step forward. But then a beeping sound starts ringing in his ear. He realizes that getting too close to Alice would put her life at risk. That's because both of them are now part of this game. She stands there, completely unaware. She asks if he's acting strange because of what happened the night before, and the poor girl even starts apologizing, but when she tries to approach him, he sees her finger getting sliced, and that's when he runs as far away as possible, trying to protect her. The poor girl has no idea she's been pulled into this game and thinks she ruined their relationship, but at that moment, she notices a small cut on her finger and even wonders when that happened. This story is seriously insane, guys. I'm telling you, it's going to surprise you from beginning to end. So go ahead and drop a comment saying kill game. But for us to reach this point in the story, we need to rewind a bit. We're going to understand why he was chosen for this game and what he needs to do to get close to the girl he loves again. The story starts a few days earlier, when someone had been torn apart right in the middle of the street. A woman was walking away, letting out a creepy laugh. Yeah, definitely not suspicious at all. Ning grew up being called a monster by everyone because of his psychopathic traits. In the present, he wakes up to the sound of his phone alarm. This guy wakes up early. No excuses, huh? Drop a comment telling what time you wake up. We see that he had been having that same nightmare. His body was covered in scars. That's because he suffered constantly due to his condition. He turns off the alarm and goes to take a shower. Right after that, he calls his best friend. The girl immediately starts complaining, saying he's calling way too early. Calm down, girl, huh? It's only 7 in the morning. They talk about college and even mention that a girl died near their campus. While getting dressed, Alice says over the phone that she read an article claiming the girl's death was biologically impossible. She even explains that the girl turned into Lego-like pieces. Of course, that's just a figure of speech, alright? You get it. As he gets ready to leave, he says he'll bring her breakfast. He glances at his door and sees several photos of Alice with different facial expressions. Yeah, he was down bad. And one of the photos had a note telling him to always remember to smile. So he shifts from his usual serious face into a smile and tells himself he needs to look friendly. On the college campus, couples were everywhere, acting all lovey-dovey. People seemed more in love than ever. Two girls even wonder if Valentine's Day wasn't just last week. The blonde tells her friend she should go out with someone and even suggests Ning. We then see someone passing by who overheard that conversation, and her hands were wrapped in bandages. Those girls were saying that Ning was single and that he was the most handsome student in the social department. The MC shows up holding a box of chocolates and greets the two girls with a good morning. Ning knew the blonde, and the other one, the girl with black hair, freezes on the spot since he was seriously good looking. The girls ask what that box of chocolates he's holding is about, and he says he's not really sure. At the same time, he puts on a slightly serious expression. Right after that, he lets out a laugh, remembering that he needs to appear friendly to others. Pretending to find it amusing, he says he's been receiving a lot of gifts lately. Soon after, he says goodbye to the girls. The black-haired one is completely smitten, saying he's kind and handsome and must be popular since he gets so many presents. The blonde says that yes, he's very handsome, but there's something strange about him. It felt like Ning never showed his true emotions. It was as if he was always wearing a mask, and honestly, that's pretty unsettling. This kind of story is a battle royale type, so just from the fact that the MC is a psychopath, you can already tell he's going to do really well. Alice was taking a shower in her apartment. He had the key to her room, so he just walks in, calling out for her. Holding a bag in his hand, he says he brought breakfast. However, he notices she isn't responding. She suddenly yells, saying she just got out of the shower. In a hurry, he says he has something urgent to show her. Then Alice opens the door. Our boy starts his day on a very lucky note. And yeah, most people would have had a nosebleed right there. With her cheeks flushed, she says she knew he didn't come all this way just to bring breakfast. The guy shows no reaction at all and casually places his hand on her shoulder, telling her to put on some clothes or she might catch a cold. At that moment, she realizes the awkward situation she's in and immediately slams the door in his face. Right after that, he hands her the box of chocolates for her to examine, since she's a biology student. Looking through the scope, she says that this time something is different. It's as if the chocolates had been soaked in blood, not mixed into the ingredients, but added afterward, which already makes it seem like it could be that woman who passed by with bandaged hands. He keeps saying there's no way he's going to eat that, and also mentions that when he left his apartment, he found the box sitting on the floor. Whoever did this knew his routine extremely well, even the exact time he leaves home. And the craziest part is that she doesn't show up on the security cameras or get noticed by the building's cleaner. He even wonders who the hell could have done this. Alice is also curious about who has been leaving these gifts, but she ends up pinching Ning's cheek, telling him not to make that kind of face. She insists that he should not make that face in public, and Ning struggles to speak, telling her to let go of his cheek. It was already 7:40 in the morning and they were late. She says she will change clothes right there, since he had already seen her without clothes before. As he leaves the apartment, he throws the sweets in the trash, and we see that someone was watching. The person slowly walks toward the trash can and keeps staring at the gift she had given to Ning. She ends up picking up the chocolates and starts crying, asking why he did not eat them. She herself eats that disgusting chocolate, and right after that she makes a crazy expression, saying that she had made them only for him. The scene returns in a flashback. Ning was eating secretly inside a concrete pipe. A girl approaches him and asks what he was doing inside there. The kid was suspicious, holding an iron bar. That was Alice. And after extending her hand, she introduces herself and invites him to play. Back to the present. At the university, the friends were talking about girls. While opening the locker, his friend says that he got the number of a girl he had been going out with for some time. Ninging asks Sheng if he had started dating. He says that he was actually just going out with this girl named Xiao. The guy even says that he wants to enjoy university life as much as possible. While he was talking about Xiao, we see that a mysterious woman was holding a tarot card, and the girl says that she had understood everything and even gives a kiss to that card. Right after that, she tears it apart and says that she wishes the best for Sheng. But it is already clear that this guy is doomed, right? At that moment, Xiao ends up replying to Sheng's messages. The guy becomes very happy, saying that he is going to date the most beautiful girl at the university and even hugs Ning, asking if he will also start dating. Right after that, he says goodbye, saying that he is going to meet the girl. And when he turns his back, the MC notices that his friend had a mark on his neck. That was very strange because just a moment ago, he did not have that mark that looked like a glowing sticker. And we see that it is exactly the same design as that tarot card the woman was holding. Ning finds it strange, but does not say anything. He simply turns his back and leaves. During class, the teacher explains about human psychology. He says that people can change drastically after a major trauma. He talks about some human feelings. Ning was a true nerd and took notes with a lot of detail. At the end, the teacher says that Ning is one of the best students he has, and the boy becomes very happy, saying that he is very interested in psychology. The teacher says that he has studied human behavior for many years. He could always evaluate people very well, but in Ning's case, the teacher says that it was impossible to evaluate. It was as if the boy acted and moved like a robot, and he even says that he looks like a machine without a soul. Very harsh words, right? That is something very strong to hear, and he remembers his best friend always encouraging him to express his emotions well. But the guy has no emotions at all, guys. Trying to break the heavy atmosphere, he laughs and says that the teacher was very funny. He says goodbye to the teacher and says that before that he would like to give some advice. The teacher says that Ning should make sure to be happy and not suppress his own feelings. That hits him deeply, because the boy did not really know what those emotions were. At night, Alice was walking near the university. It was already 7 in the evening and Ning appears asking why she had called him. The guy even asks if there was some emergency and she makes a bored expression. Right after that, she extends her hand saying that he should hand over his gift already. Today was her birthday, and until now he had not given any gift, and the girl knew very well that he had not forgotten. Ning says that he reserved a table at a fancy restaurant, and so they end up going there. Right after that, he places his gift on top of the table, and it was a dress. She says that she knew it, and makes a disgusted face. She even gets angry, saying that she is already 19 years old, and does not wear those childish clothes anymore. Completely innocent. Ning, he says that he imagined she would look very cute in that dress. Hearing that, the girl becomes very embarrassed and immediately her cheeks turn red. With a smile, he asks if she liked it, and while hugging him, she says that she loved the gift. That catches him by surprise. She says that since today was her birthday, he could not refuse anything she asked. "Oh, you little troublemaker, what are you going to ask, huh?" The guy says that it was fine. And as he leans close to her ear, he says that he will not refuse anything. The girl realizes that this was the perfect chance. She always wonders what love is, and says that she wants to kiss him. But Ning says that she cannot kiss someone for whom she has no romantic feelings. But the girl lowers her face and then tells him to shut up and pulls his clothes. And so she ends up kissing Ning, a romantic scene. The guy is left a bit without reaction, but he takes the initiative and kisses back. Alice's eyes even begin to tear up, and she starts thinking that out of all the people in the world, he had to be the one she would give her first kiss to. However, outside, someone was taking pictures of that, and it already makes us imagine that it is the stalker who had been giving him gifts. In the flashback, a woman talks to a doctor saying that that boy is not her biological son, but adopted. She was afraid that he would be a bad influence on her biological daughter. And after analyzing the medical exams, she saw that he had contracted a very rare disease. Alice was listening to everything, and the doctor said that Ning had developed an emotional deficiency. It seems that he could not feel normal human emotions, such as happiness, anger, compassion, or joy. It was as if he were always trapped in a dark and lonely room. The girl approaches, and the MC asks what kind of disease he has. But Alice says that he has no disease at all. And while hugging him, the girl says that she will always be by his side and that she will never abandon him. When it was time to leave, he ends up holding her because the girl had drunk too much. All proud, she says that she is very strong when it comes to drinking, but that was a lie. Kind of trying to provoke him, she says that if one day she got a boyfriend, she would not be able to stay that close to him. And she even asks what would happen to their friendship. Ning does not really know what to say, and it even seems that he did not understand properly. And since he said nothing, she became embarrassed. However, he ends up saying that he will wish the best for both of them. The guy even says that he is happy for her thinking about getting a boyfriend, but that was just to see if he really liked her. Guys, because he said those things, she became sure that he does not feel the same, so she ended up pushing him. Ning asks if the girl was okay. As she leaves, she says that he does not need to worry about her anymore, and with tears in her eyes says that he is the same as always. Yeah man, girls are complicated. And he was not understanding anything. He even asked what he had done wrong. At that moment, the phone rang, and it was his friend Sheng saying that he is going to start dating. But Ning tells his friend to leave him alone, and even hangs up the phone on him. The poor guy says that he had never seen his friend so furious like that. The scene changes to the next day very early. In his apartment, Ning was desperately trying to call Alice, but it always went to voicemail. At that moment, someone knocked on his door. A bit desperate, he goes there thinking it was Alice, but to his surprise, it was his friend Sheng. The guy acts a bit awkward saying hello. Ning could not let his friend enter because behind the door there were several photographs of Alice. The guy says that he was worried because of his call last night and also says that today there will be a party. The MC says that he cannot go to any party, but his friend makes a bored face and even starts mentioning some beautiful girls who would be there. As he starts listing some women's names, among them was Alice's name. At that moment, Ning immediately grabs the guy's hand and asks where the party will be. Later that same day, they were already making a toast. The guy only agreed to go to that party of Sheng, where he was going to introduce his girlfriend, because he wanted to see Alice. But before getting there, a few minutes earlier, he was feeling something strange. It felt like someone was following him. People around the university were talking about the mysterious deaths. He ended up passing by a girl and noticed that she looked somewhat depressed, let's say. Her face was familiar, and he even wonders if by chance she was Sheng's ex-girlfriend, and when he passed right in front of that girl, he became sure that she was his friend's ex. But he decided to ignore it, and the crazy girl kept laughing in the middle of the street. Later, he finally arrived at the restaurant. His friends were having fun, and Sheng said that he had a telepathic power with his girlfriend. But the friends there just laughed. Ning shows up and asks what kind of confusion that was, so he explains that there was a buzzing sound in his ear every time his girlfriend got close, and that was considered a telepathic power. The buzzing starts to sound like a beep. He is going to show his friends that he really has this telepathic power. He says that his girlfriend will appear at the door in a few moments and even starts a countdown. Everyone becomes tense looking at the door, and when he reaches 0, she finally opens the door. Everyone already finds that very strange, because he got it exactly right. The friends even comment that he really has a romantic connection with that girl. Ning asks if that is the true love that so many people talk about. Scratching his nose, he acts all proud, saying that they were made for each other. The guy keeps calling his girlfriend to come to him, but the girl was a bit shy and even kept saying that Sheng was very over the top. Behind her was our dear redhead. She ends up seeing the MC from afar, and he is surprised that she actually came. The girls start commenting that Ning was very handsome, and only then does it finally hit Alice, and upon seeing him from afar, her heart starts racing. He was giving a friendly smile and remembering what they did the night before. Alice's cheeks turn red. She turns her back, saying that she does not have the courage to go to him, and the poor guy stays there trying to understand why she had been ignoring him all this time. Sheng approaches and says that he felt something in the air and even tells him to confess to Alice already. The guy shouts very loudly, saying that everyone already knows that the two love each other. And upon hearing that, the girl says that she is not in a relationship with Ning. This Sheng is exactly that kind of friend who embarrasses you in front of everyone. And all annoyed, she says that that idiot talks too much nonsense. Outside, someone was watching them. The girl who gave the chocolates keeps saying that Alice continued to bother Ning, and acting completely crazy, she says that she needed to resolve that. Holding a card, she says that she is the only one who has the right to be with him. At that moment, it is already clear that things are going to go wrong. Sheng tells Zhao to come quickly to meet him. The guy takes a bouquet of flowers and says that she is the love of his life. One of the friends says that something is shining on his neck. The MC notices that that mark had appeared again. It is exactly the same design that he saw at the university the day before. The boy ignores it and starts walking toward his girlfriend. He says that they met not long ago, but that he wanted to show how much he loved her. Hearing that, Zhao becomes very in love. Then he starts to approach slowly, until that mark shines very brightly, and just like that he is cut into 1,000 pieces. All of this right in front of his girlfriend. Everyone is in shock trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The people in the restaurant go crazy and start running in all directions. Sheng, what happened to you? That mark also appeared on the MC. Immediately, a message appeared saying, "Welcome to the game." Outside, some people started calling emergency services. Others even called the police. Meanwhile, Sheng was there lying on the ground in 1,000 pieces. Alice did not run away because she was worried about Ning. She tries to push through the crowd and starts shouting loudly, calling for her friend. But the boy was paralyzed, reading the messages from that cursed system. He did not understand if that was just an illusion. There was a warning saying that if he approached the danger zone of his love, she would be in danger. As Alice got closer, he heard a beep getting louder and louder. That was the same sound his friend heard when his girlfriend approached. And he even remembers the guy bragging, saying that he had a telepathic power. Now he understood that it was not a gift from the gods, but rather a curse. Both Ning and Alice were now inside this game. She asks why he is just standing there. Inside the restaurant hall, only the two of them remained now, but slowly he moves closer to his friend. However, the beeping sound keeps getting louder. The crazy ex-girlfriend of Sheng, who was outside, was watching everything. Ning sees that girl and wonders what she was doing there. Laughing, she celebrates, saying that she had no other choice. At that moment, Ning understood that it was probably that woman who did this to his friend. It was as if the ex-girlfriend had cast a curse on him. Because of that, Sheng ended up dying. Everything seemed like a fantasy. But he could not let Alice, the only girl he truly cared about, be in danger. She tries to get closer, and outside, the girl who gave the chocolates keeps smiling at him as if she were celebrating because he had finally entered the game. Ning and Alice were in the game Kill My Love. She extends her hand calling him, and instantly a cut appears on her index finger. The guy realizes that she could be cut and shouting loudly. He tells Alice not to come closer as he runs away, breaking the window. The poor Alice thinks that she did something wrong, but notices that there was a cut on her finger and even asks when that happened. Ning runs outside in search of that woman who was outside. The woman was on top of the building next door saying nonsense things. It was very cold and snowing, but she was only wearing a dress and high heels. At that moment, he opens the door and she says that she had been waiting for him. The guy was very serious. Celebrating, the girl says that she had been waiting for Ning for quite a long time, but our big boy Elia did not seem like he wanted so much to see that girl there. No. Preparing to jump, she said that she longed a lot for this moment. All dressed up, she asks if by any chance he thinks she is beautiful. But our big boy, he was serious and asks if it was her who sent that message telling him to go up there on the building. The girl reveals that she never had the courage to introduce herself to him before, but today was different. Because from now on he will never belong to Alice anymore. She will never bother the two again. I knew it. It was you who did this, wasn't it? She lets out a mischievous laugh and celebrates, saying that it was her who put him in the game. In return, she offered herself to turn into ashes. Meanwhile, he and that girl were both transformed into ashes. She says this celebrating with her arms open. Ning questions, "What is this story?" That he does not understand anything. "So you really are willing to give your own life, just so that I do not get involved with another woman?" Putting her hand on her face, she said that he is very smart and ends up revealing that inside this game, if he gets close to the person he likes, she will end up dying and will be exploded into thousands of fragments. This leaves him very serious. It seems that now he is literally having emotions, guys. He also realized that it was this girl who was sending the strange gifts and reveals that if her desire is to please him, that did not work. Upon hearing this, that crazy girl gets angry, and when he says that what she did was nothing more than a boring and mischievous prank, she starts to cry. And while the scene went back to the past, showing two children, that woman asks if by any chance he had forgotten, and ends up repeating the following sentence, Ning, I will definitely repay you when I grow up. Back to the present, she said that now she was already an adult. He asked what she is saying, and even tried to understand more about this game. But this girl, she was already very crazy. She says that people never wish to die, and as she extends her hand, she begins to catch the snowflakes, just as the snowflake is destined to melt in your hand. In this way, also human life. All people are condemned to die someday, and the only person who was able to warm her heart was precisely Ning. She said that it is as if she were a snowflake, and as she gets close to him, she would slowly melt. What are you talking about, girl? I do not understand anything. About to throw herself. She said that the love she feels for him is greater than Alice's love. And as she lets go of the ledge, she said that she would do anything for him. The guy runs desperately, trying to hold her, and by little he almost manages to grab her hand. The girl says goodbye and says that she hopes to find him again. And so she ends up falling down there. The guy had just witnessed 2 traumatic scenes in less than an hour. Down there, people start screaming, saying that someone jumped from the building. Looking at that scene, Ning wonders what game that was. Upon arriving home, hours later, he begins to do some research. The name of that girl was Ya, and she was 18 years old. Although he tried to remember, he did not recall having seen that girl any time before that night. He tries to remember that name, but really nothing comes to mind. That girl, she had talked about a sacrifice, and this leaves him very thoughtful. Then he begins to do some research, and ends up seeing many bad news. The guy searches several things and gets scared with what he discovers. The scene changes to the university gymnasium. A guy was talking with his girlfriend and was talking to her at a certain distance. His girlfriend says that she cannot take it anymore, and that she would prefer to give up everything. But the red-haired keeps saying that she cannot simply give up. But she was going through a lot and starts to shout at him, saying that it is being very difficult. She could not take these life or death battles anymore. It was horrible, this worry of being able to die at any moment. The guy calls her Ryan, and at that moment he ends up receiving a notification from the system. This guy, he was called Lichuan. Out of nowhere, her expression changes with a smile, and she said that they received a new mission. That one was bipolar, guys, and with a smile he says that this is great. God had mercy on us. This time we got an inexperienced couple. With a malicious smile, he said that he will eliminate the couple. And meanwhile, Alice, she was trying to call Ning. She did not understand why he simply ran away from her. Her colleague keeps rushing her, saying that they are late, but the only thing she can remember is him shouting for her not to get close. As Ning did not have feelings, it was very strange for him to have acted that way. It even looked like the expression he made on the day they met. Meanwhile, he did not stop researching, and the more he searched deeply, the more indignant he became. Ning functioned as if he were a puppet incapable of feeling love or hatred. Resentment and fear were also things he did not feel, much less affection and passion. Humans were made up of emotions, and not having them was the worst of all possible curses. It was as if he were a puppet, a tasteless joke created by God. People who are incapable of being independent, they should be eliminated. The one saying these things was a woman at the top of a building. This story, it is very mysterious, but I assure you that everything will be answered little by little. In biology class, some students were feeling unwell. However, Alice, she was very cold and managed to carry out all the tests on the animals. She was very focused on her studies and even gets angry because some students were chatting. Because of that, she called the girls out, leaving them terrified. It seemed that the senior Alice, she was very irritated about something. In fact, she could not get Ning out of her head and even sent several messages, but he did not reply. Outside, she kept calling him an idiot, but he was in another building, right there beside. Holding binoculars, he observed everything. What he really wanted was to see if she had any marking there on her neck. And yes, she did. He even wonders why the system regarded the two as a couple. At night, she was returning home and another person was following her. This guy adjusts his cap, and all angry Alice, she complains that she did not even manage to touch him with her little hands. She also got angry because her classmates were in love with him. She was dying of jealousy. That was the truth. At that moment, she hears a noise because the guy had kicked a small stone. And when she turns around, she gets scared. She gets scared because there was no one behind her. Feeling very afraid, she imagines that maybe it is just something from her head. However, someone ended up coming out of an alley. The guy said that he did not expect to find her there, and even repeats Alice's name. Breaking into a cold sweat, she asks how he knew her name, but the guy said that this does not matter, since she would be eliminated right now. Hold on, man, are you crazy or something? The trash ends up pulling out a dagger, saying that he had no choice. Thus, the guy ends up charging at Alice and was very close to hitting her. In this way, blood ends up flying everywhere. The blade was very dirty, and we see that it was she who struck him. The girl had taken a scalpel out of her bag and says that he is messing with the wrong girl, since she studied biology. Giving a smile, he says that she probably already prepared herself for this game and asks if she had already received any mission from the KML game. It even sounds like the name of a band, right? She says that she does not know what that means. Then he starts laughing since she did not know anything. The boy mentions the people who have been dying all over the city and mentions that those people who died were all couples. If by any chance they exceeded the distance limits, the body would explode, and that means that you could not get close to the person you loved the most, and to end this game you would need to eliminate her. The guy ends up hitting Alice and the girl falls to the ground. The blow was very strong and he said that he would not like to do this, but it was necessary. Everything he was doing was because of the rules of the game. He prepares to deliver the final attack, but at that moment Alice ends up remembering a scene from when she was a child. The boys were dying of fear, saying that Ning was an aberration that did not feel pain. Ning was standing in front of Alice to protect her. We see that he was very injured. He had done that to protect her from bullying, and as he extended his arms, he said that he will not let anyone lay hands on her. Back to the present, someone ended up throwing a water bottle, and that bottle hit that redhead's hand and the dagger fell to the ground. That was unexpected, and we see that who was there was precisely Ning MC. The guy was very badass to arrive there at this last moment. He was staring at them with a very serious expression. "Ning, is that you?" the girl asks. She wanted to know why he was there, and also questions what kind of story is that about this crazy guy talking about a game. Frightened, the redhead asks how Ning arrived at that place. Letting out a laugh, he said that he did not expect to find the two players so close. He said that he would never have found Ning if he had not shown up. Ning asks who was the one that made this game, and the trash said that he does not know if it was God or Satan. However, he knows how to get out of this damned cursed game. The only way was for one of the two to die. Alice, she was already calling the police, and upon seeing that, the guy starts laughing. He even asks if by any chance she is very naive or stupid, since the problem they are facing was something supernatural. It was something that the two of them had absolutely no idea about. And when they finally realized it, they would be even more shocked. Since he did not want to face Ning that night, he decided to leave. However, MC asks what that guy was, but the trash replies that they would meet again soon. Thus, he is left alone with Alice. He asks her not to be angry with him. It is not that she was being avoided, but rather that he was without a cell phone and could not answer the calls. He had managed to take from that guy a support that is used in those climbing equipment. He sits at a good distance in a square, and he begins explaining everything he discovered. A kind of system game regards the two as if they were a couple. They could no longer get close to each other, and of course she was shocked upon hearing this. All those cases of people who exploded out of nowhere is because they were victims of this game. Besides that, she saw this happen right in front of her. Unfortunately, the two of them were brought into this game through an unknown girl, Alice. She gets scared, asking if she can also suffer from that. He said yes, because the system thought that they were a couple. The girl's heart starts beating faster. Then she keeps saying that they are not a couple under any circumstances. She really wished that this were true, right? Alice wonders if the girl who did this to him was exactly the one who jumped from the building, and he said yes. Letting out an awkward laugh, she said that they are not a couple. She keeps repeating this several times in the middle of the conversation, hoping that he would say that they are a couple. Yes, and that ends up drawing Ning's attention. So much so that he asks if by any chance she is not scared of this game. She says no, and that the fact that they think they are a couple was what really made her flustered. The boy, he stands up and said that he needs to find that redhead, because he could be the key for him to discover more about this game. His guess is that this game, Kill My Love, adds new people over time and also creates new rules. And according to his suspicion, each day that passes becomes more dangerous. But with a smile, she said that if she were by his side, she would not feel afraid of anything. As always, he cannot show feelings, and she said that in the same way that he always protected her when she was a child, he will also protect her now. With his head down, Ning said that this is true and that he will never abandon her. This feeling in his heart now was strange, because he never felt this warmth in his chest. Then he gives a sincere smile, saying that everything will be alright. On the next day, people were close to the crime scene. No one could say for sure what happened. Some said that there were many crimes happening in the city. Some police officers even begin to make theories. An investigator asks if the detective discovered anything. With a serious look, he said no, and that it was the same answer as the other cases. People end up exploding in the middle of several witnesses, which made this matter even more ridiculous. Among all the cases that this detective has already taken, this was the worst of all. Wiping the sweat, the investigator says that this really was very strange. He even apologizes for not being able to help the detective. Looking up, he says that he was an atheist, but that only a supernatural explanation would justify all of this. If it really is something like that, there is nothing that they can do. Meanwhile, Riane, she was at the university. She sent a message to her boyfriend saying that she can no longer hear the system's hints, and the guy mentions there that he failed the mission. Alice's boyfriend appeared and ruined everything. Then he mentions that he does not really want to participate in this game. At that instant, Ning arrives at the climbing club, and he comes face to face with Lichuan. I know that you may have gotten angry at this redhead, but you will see that by the end of this video you will see him as a hero, the guy who is the last romantic on Earth, guys. And I confess that I almost cried. The redhead asks how Ning had found him. Then MC puts his hand in his pocket and throws that climbing clip, saying that this guy dropped that on the ground. The man picks up the object and says that Ning was very smart for having connected the dots. What is it? Did you come here to try to eliminate me? But of course not. I came here only to solve two problems. Ning said that he wanted to know what kind of game this was, and the other thing is that he would like to ask that this guy never meet him in public again. The trash said that he already explained that this game is called Kill My Love, and it will force you to eliminate other people. However, it was not to be seen as if it were a simple fictional little game, since the things that happened here were very harsh and cruel. He has a flashback with his girlfriend, saying that he would never let her die. All he wanted was to feel her sweet and smooth skin again. After all, she was the person he loved the most in the world. He would never allow anything bad to happen to her. But just thinking about the possibility of losing all of this already makes him go crazy, so he would have to win this game at any cost. It does not matter what the system asked. Holding a dagger, he says this to our hero. However, Ning says that this game must have a loophole. What is it? Are you trying to tell me that this game has some flaw? That is exactly what the MC was trying to say. The redhead asks if he has an idea, but Ning says that it would be enough to know a little more of the details for him to discover the weak point. However, the redhead says that this is impossible, and even starts shouting saying that this game was not a joke, and that this game was a hell. All he needed to do was eliminate Ning to complete the mission. If by any chance he were eliminated, Alice could go back to living freely forever. But with a macabre smile, the MC said that this is out of the question. He did not want to reach such a critical option, and this leaves the redhead afraid. The guy starts laughing while moving away, and even said that he will show something to Ning. He uses the very dagger that he was holding, and this already leaves the MC surprised, since the guy made a cut on his own arm. However, that cut healed very quickly, and within 3 seconds it was already healed. Observing that, he tries to understand. In other words, this game prevented you from self-eliminating. The only way was to hurt other people, and thus this regeneration would not activate. Even if you told this to other people, they would only believe it by seeing it. It was as if a power greater than that of humans could control whoever was behind this, and it was exactly because of these things that this game had no weak point and much less flaws. Extending his arms, he proposes a climbing competition. If by any chance Ning wins, he would tell everything he knows, but if the boy lost, he would give his life. He points that dagger at our hero, and while holding the redhead's hand, he says that he agrees with this competition. In the flashback, the redhead's girlfriend was sleeping peacefully, and while she slept, he keeps watching her. He even comments that his girlfriend's smell was incredible. At that moment, he approaches the girl, but she bites his finger. Right after, she says that she had tricked him by pretending that she was sleeping. Since it was Saturday, he should fulfill what was promised and bring breakfast to her. To be honest, she says that she was a little anxious about the future because of the university. She even pinches her boyfriend and says that the only thing that reassured her was knowing that he would always be by her side. Back to the present, they were preparing for the competition. Ning starts cracking his fingers, but the redhead, he was very confident. Upon seeing the happy face of this cheerful fool, the redhead even asks if by any chance he knows the danger that this bet brings. Thus they make a countdown, and when the count ends, they start. The redhead went ahead since he was very experienced. A climbing competition was something very difficult for beginners. It was not something that simply someone who started there could already participate in. And since Ning he was completely inexperienced, he ended up falling. The redhead realized that his opponent would have to start from zero, and this increased his confidence even more. It was even good to participate in this type of bet, because perhaps in a one-on-one battle the redhead might do badly. However, MC does not give up and stands up and starts climbing again. In a life or death competition there was no honor, and the guy ends up stepping on Ning's hand. The boy saw that the redhead was going to play dirty, and besides stepping on his hand, he even rubbed his foot. But to Lixuan's surprise, Ning did not show any pain. He even switched the position of his hand and continues climbing. As unbelievable as it may seem, this gave him even more motivation. The most important part of climbing was the strength in the fingers, and if by any chance your fingers got injured, you would be lost. And even after having his fingers crushed, he was climbing with full strength. When turning to the redhead, he sees him mocking, asking why the boy had stopped. It is not possible, this boy is really a monster. The MC stays there mocking, and the guy asks how the boy was able to do that, and while holding onto the rope, he ends up throwing his body and tries to deliver a kick to Ning. However, our hero ends up letting go of the wall, and he falls down to the ground. Lichuan, he finds this very strange, and wonders why the boy let go on purpose. However, this was the perfect chance for him to win the match. However, he ended up feeling something. MC, he was lying on the ground, but he had placed the rope hooked on the redhead's sneaker, and the MC did this exactly at the moment when Ki tried to kick him. Lying on the ground, Ning keeps pretending that he is unconscious. However, all of this was nothing more than his plan. He gets up holding the rope and giving a malicious smile. He says that everything was valid to win the match. Thus he ends up pulling the redhead. The guy tries to hold on with all his strength, but he did not have enough strength. I acknowledge what you said, Li Chuan. This is a game of life or death. Thus the guy ends up falling hard. The scene returns in a flashback with him in a wedding dress shop. Aneva was trying on one of the dresses and asks her boyfriend if she looked beautiful. He was speechless and starts stuttering, saying that she is beautiful. However, she looks at herself in the mirror and says that she needs to lose weight. At that moment, he holds his girlfriend's hand and says that she does not need to lose any weight because she is perfect. While she smiled, he promises that in 2 years when they graduate, they will get married. However, now Li Chuan, he was falling hard, and the worst of all is that he fell on top of a climbing axe. The axe ended up piercing his chest, and at that moment, Ning appears behind him. Your luck is that the axe fell on the right side. Now I will be able to win this match. Meanwhile, Alice, she was going up the stairs, and at the top she ended up meeting Rian, the blonde. She comments saying that she was already waiting for her, and the redhead asks, "Who is this girl?" Rian ends up offering a cigarette, but our dear Alice refuses. She introduces herself and says that she is one of the participants of the game. She even says that she is an enemy, but Alice becomes curious to know why she was called. The blonde said that in fact both of their boyfriends are fighting down there in a warehouse, and says that the boys they are very intense and are doing this only to save them. Alice, she gets surprised and even wonders why that girl seems so calm. She even questions if by any chance that blonde there is not worried about her boyfriend, and she said no, because she knows that he will win. Yeah, my dear, I am sorry to tell you this, but your boyfriend is not winning. The redhead almost lets it slip that Ning was not her boyfriend, and because of that she gives an awkward little laugh. Rian, she laughs and says that men they do not care about dying and that they even like adrenaline. And Alice, she stays there forcing it, pretending that she is not very nervous. "Hey Rian, I bet you have already killed many people, haven't you?" The girl does not answer and even says that Alice was naive and asks if she has ever heard of the story called the Dark Forest. For you not to be killed, you would have to kill others first. That was how the story worked. Meanwhile, there in the climbing warehouse, the MC was climbing the wall. The redhead was already running out of energy, but he gathers the rest of the energy that he still had and tries to get up. Our hero was confident because now he was almost reaching the top, but the boy there, he ends up taking that dagger from his back. He was very angry and giving a laugh he said that he would not let Ning win, and because of that he took that dagger and threw it upward. However, it was not to hit the MC, but rather the electrical grid. And at that moment a blackout happens. However, MC manages to reach the top, even with the place in complete darkness. From above, Ning keeps laughing, leaving the redhead stunned. He even lights up there above using the cell phone flashlight and keeps shouting, saying that he had won. "It seems that you will have to tell me everything you know," and Rui was no longer believing in anything. That climbing wall was one of the most difficult there in the warehouse, and it was practically impossible for a novice to complete it, even more in the dark. However, this Ning, he was a complete monster, and thus Lichuan ends up admitting that he lost the bet. The scene changes to a few hours later. He appears there in that gym, and the girl she was there waiting for him. He even asked who that blonde there was that was accompanying Alice. The redhead explained that that one was called Rian, and she was Loom's girlfriend. At that moment he told the girl not to worry about her boyfriend, because he is already in the hospital. At that moment she realized that her boyfriend had lost, and when turning around and saying goodbye, she said that it is all right. Alice was trying to process this information. He even questions how that guy's girlfriend got in contact with her. Alice says that she does not know very well, and even tells that in fact Rian seems quite depressive. But our hero, he points there the number 3, and says that he discovered 3 rules of the game. The first rule is that the way to enter this game was not very clear. It was usually destined for couples, but Alice, upon hearing this, she becomes somewhat confused, since the two were not a couple. The second rule is that this game had a very strict distancing policy. If they got close to each other, it could be that one of them would simply turn into pieces. And based on his studies, he thinks that the maximum distancing limit is of 4 meters. He also says that several rules appear as you keep playing, such as, for example, missions to kill other people. And when you complete these missions, you gain points and climb the pyramid. And when you reach the top, you would receive a reward. Alice asks if there is any chance of leaving the game, and he says that he has not discovered anything. From what he knew, this game had a mysterious power that no human was capable of doing. There was no way to leave this game except by killing other people. The girl lets out a nervous laugh, but then she becomes surprised. Since Ning was making a fake expression at her, she had already told him to never be fake. Since they met all the emotions that they went through together, she always felt that it was real. He keeps saying that Rian made a very bad choice since she could very well have killed Alice. However, she was angry because he made that fake expression at her. The girl even asks what he just said. The MC, he does not listen and continues saying that the emotions he is feeling are very strange. Little by little he was understanding what it was to feel love, since Lichuan was doing everything possible just to stay with his girlfriend. And the girl could have helped in the mission by eliminating Alice, but she did not do that. Even if he tried to understand feelings, she still keeps feeling that he is being fake with her. Because of that, she lowers her head and becomes very angry. After they return home, he ends up having a nightmare with a creature touching his chest. He looks firmly at this monster, and the creature said that it would like to taste something delicious. This monster makes an X on his chest, saying that the boy was a sacrifice, and also says that it was eagerly awaiting his performance. At that moment, his cell phone starts ringing, and he stops the alarm at 7 in the morning. He realized that that was a nightmare. However, that mark on his chest was still real, which makes him think if that really was just a dream. On the call, he says that there is something that he would like to clarify with her, and he had called at 5 in the morning. He was worried because he had never seen her make that very angry expression. On the call, she cuts in saying that she dreamed of a very strange monster, and he had also dreamed of the monster. Then he asks her what that creature was like. She says that it looked like a kind of jellyfish with many tentacles, and at that moment he remembers that grotesque hand touching his body. He throws some water on his face and says that he also had a nightmare. But the worst of all is that the scar from that nightmare was also in the real world. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the hospital. A nurse shouts there telling Lichuan that he should not get up since he had just undergone surgery. He was sending messages to his girlfriend, but then she changed her mind and said that she agreed with him in eliminating Ning, since they would have to kill him so that they could see each other again. The nurse keeps saying that he should not remain sitting, since the wounds would open, and when she was about to touch him, he ends up calling the nurse, and in a polite manner he says that he is already much better, and even asks to be discharged. Meanwhile, Ning was in his apartment. He gathered all the information that he had already acquired, and begins to make a mind map. His desire was to try to find the god of this game. Both he and Alice had already dreamed of monsters. He thinks that this has something to do with the creator of the game. However, all the clues led nowhere, and he even becomes a little unmotivated. Since they were beginners, they would have to do many missions to reach the top. So he ends up reaching a conclusion. He should eliminate Lichuan, and he was very serious about that. Taking his cell phone, he begins the tracking and sees exactly Lichuan's location, guys. He had placed a GPS on the guy. The boy was in front of a building. At that moment, his cell phone starts ringing, and when answering, who was on the other side of the line was precisely the MC. Our hero did not want to kill him, but rather to meet to talk about something. At that moment, he asked the boy to look up, and he realized that the MC was always one step ahead, and even gives a little wave there to the boy. And with not many choices, he ends up accepting our hero. He calls Alice and tells her to skip college today, since she would have an important role in his plan, and says that this request of his is unrefusable. Thus, he ends up meeting Lichuan on top of a bridge. There on the walkway, he says that it was good that Ning chose that place because it was very busy. With a smile, Ning said that he called him there to talk a little more about this game. He wanted to resolve everything peacefully, and for that reason he would like the redhead's help, so they could solve the problems of this game. The guy keeps laughing, saying that Ning, he is quite persistent. However, he had already lost hope that this game could be resolved in a peaceful way. The guy apologizes to Ning, saying that he does not have an apparent reason to kill him, but our hero says that he understands very well. At that moment, he receives a message on his cell phone. There were no reasons for them to keep apologizing, since it was nothing personal what they were doing. From the moment they entered this game, they were nothing more than mere puppets. Meanwhile, Alice and Ryan were getting into a taxi. Alice had called the blonde to go to a cafe, and meanwhile he was talking with the guy on the walkway. In a serious manner, the MC says that he does not understand very well the objectives of this game, and at that moment the car was approaching. Who was inside that car was precisely Ryan, and Ning turns to the boy and says a simple goodbye, and at that moment the car ends up passing underneath the walkway. That is, guys, he was very close to his girlfriend, and at that moment he ended up suffering the curse of the game. The car had passed right underneath, and while Ryan was talking, she ended up feeling something strange. It was as if a cold breeze passed across her face, and instantly she starts crying, saying that the one to blame for all of this is precisely Alice. Desperate, she starts asking the taxi driver to stop the car. "Stop this car right now, you idiot." Furious, she said that Lichuan had died, and even says that the one to blame for all of this was precisely Alice. The poor little redhead did not know anything, guys. The MC did not tell about his plan, but she realized right away that all of this was his plan. An hour ago, she was getting ready for college. However, Ning called her, saying that he would need the girl's help. He simply said that she should call Ryan to a cafe, and at the same moment he met with the redhead and says that he would like to talk with him, taking the boy precisely to a walkway that was close to the cafe. Thus, he ended up exceeding the distance limits. He even lets out a sigh, because he realized that he had lost, and a window appears saying that he was eliminated. Ning says that that blue car that just passed contained his girlfriend inside, and Lichuan even said that Ning's plan was very well crafted. MC, he was careful to know the exact distance of that walkway, and giving a smile he admits that he had lost, but at the same time he thanks him. Nosai asks why he has not exploded yet, and the redhead says that he will tell a very boring story. After he entered the university, he only thought about hooking up, about going out with several women. However, he ended up meeting Ryan. Right from the beginning they became very close, until one night she ended up being attacked. She was screaming, begging for help, and at that moment Lichuan, he ended up appearing. Seeing that scene, that was very traumatizing for him, and the criminal kept saying that his mission was to eliminate her. The man even said that if he did not do that he could die together with his girlfriend. Lichuan, he was forced to watch his girlfriend suffer at the hands of that man. However, that guy was not a simple player. He was a complete madman. He was wielding a dagger and ended up making several cuts. The poor Ryan, she began to scream in despair, but something ended up happening and prevented something worse from happening. But even so, that nightmare remained engraved in his mind. After that day, Ryan, she became another person. Besides scars spread across her body, she also developed schizophrenia and bipolarity. She was a sweet, innocent girl who had never done anything wrong. The only dream she had was to get married and make someone very happy by his side. However, their life, which once seemed perfect, was completely destroyed. She ended up getting out of the car and ran toward her boyfriend. He explains that when you complete a mission, you end up gaining points. These points could be used as a kind of time. You would gain time beside the person you loved. And leaning there on the railing, he asks the MC to take revenge by killing the person who did this to his girlfriend. And he even explains that that man had a scar on his mouth, giving a smile, Ning, and says that it must be difficult for him to guarantee that he will do that, but he will do his best. From afar, Ryan realizes that her boyfriend was really on that walkway. "Well, Ning, I hope that you can fulfill this agreement and avenge my girlfriend." "Excuse me, I will go there to say goodbye to Ryan." The girl starts running desperately and even ends up falling into his arms. She had tears in her eyes, and at that moment he says that everything was fine. He even tells her not to be reckless and put her life in danger. Giving a very sad smile, he says that now she is finally free. But the girl was desperate and kept repeating, saying that he will be fine because he has not died yet. She even says that this is nothing more than a misunderstanding and that he is healthier than ever. He holds his girlfriend very tightly because this would be his last embrace. He apologizes for not having been strong enough to keep the two safe and sound. He repeats, saying that she is the person he loved the most in this world. Again, he apologizes, guys, because he could not help her. But the final gift that he would give to her was freedom. At that moment, that mark on his neck starts to glow, and Lichuan, he is sliced into 1,000 pieces. The girl cannot hold back her crying. She even tries to gather the pieces, but that was useless. Her boyfriend had lost his life in her arms. This scene here is very sad, guys, and I confess that it was hard for me to narrate. She starts screaming, saying that she loved him very much, and that they promised to stay together forever. The MC, he ended up taking a photo of her, and he keeps thinking that he must fulfill the promise of taking revenge on the one who hurt the girl. But he even mentions that he is not seeing any scar there on Rian's face. Maybe it is because of the makeup. Guys, Alice looks with a fierce gaze at the MC, since he was to blame for all of this. The emergency team arrives at the place, and everyone starts commenting about the girl there who had lost her boyfriend. Since the couple completed a mission, they gained points, and these points they could be spent in hours. That is, guys, if they spent these points, they could stay close to each other, and even touch each other. The girl ends up going to a beach, and after reading the system messages, she saw that she could stay for a total of 3 hours beside him. She even keeps wondering what she could do in 3 hours, such as for example watching 2 movies, going to dinner, or even spending more time together. She also remembers the girl because she was diagnosed with severe schizophrenia. It seems that Alice was feeling guilty about all of this. When she was taken to the hospital, she looked like someone without a soul. Exactly like Ning. She began to understand the seriousness of this game. Alice ends up crouching down, and when picking up a stone, she asks what will become of her future. She holds the stone very tightly and ends up throwing it upward. Her greatest fear was that this game would completely change the lives of the people who remained alive. The scene shifts to the hospital. Alice went there to find Yuxia, a student who had thrown herself from the top of a building. The hospital staff member comments on the room where she was admitted, and even says that she has not been receiving visits. The woman even asks if by any chance that girl was her relative, but Alice says that she is just a friend. Thus the scene goes to the room, and Alice already starts by opening the window. She keeps reflecting on the fact that this Yuxia had not received any visits. The girl was there lying on the bed, and Alice knew that all of this that she was going through was precisely because of that girl. And when approaching, she asks if by any chance that girl knows how hellish her life has become. It was very easy to destroy a person's life and then simply give up on your own. Alice, she went there in search of clues and starts rummaging through some of the cabinets. She found a box with Yuxia's name and then took her phone. Meanwhile, there was someone very mysterious in a building, with several tarot cards. That person says that God's creation was very beautiful. He ends up using some kind of system power and enters the KML space. The system welcomes the chief administrator, and the man asks for a report of the rounds that happened on that day, and it is shown on some panels the people who died. The man says that this is very interesting, and when showing the image of Ning with Alice, he says that these two are the most interesting participants. He even becomes surprised because they are a new team. Letting out a laugh, he says that he imagined that Ning would die right at the beginning, but on the contrary, he was doing very well. He would like to know how strong Ning is. Meanwhile, MC, he was there trying to piece everything together to reach some solution. He spent the whole night and even slept there sitting in front of the panel. He ended up hearing someone knocking on his door and already grabs the GPS there to see who it was. Upon realizing that it was not Alice, he already grabs a dagger. He goes toward the door, and upon opening it, he peeks through the gap. It was Alice who appeared there and even told him to open the door quickly. The guy was surprised because a GPS did not indicate that it was her. "Wait a minute, you are very close to me." She said yes, and that she even spent a little of her points. Upon entering, she notices that he had kept several photos of her, and also notices that there was a photograph of Rian crying. Upon seeing this, she becomes angry, but she knew that he kept these photos because of the facial expressions. Next, she hands him a bag and says that it was a gift. The boy, he looks at that and realizes that she had bought him a pair of sneakers. She said that it was a suitable shoe for him to use later, and he thanks her. Next, he asks how many reward points she had used. She does not answer, and he stays there questioning what she came there to do. He imagines that she came there to give him a lecture, and the girl shouts, telling him to be quiet, and says in a very serious way that she only came there to see him because she was missing him a lot. Next, she tells him to sit beside her because they should make good use of this time, and he makes a bored face. She comments about the photo that he took of Rian, and he says that he took it so that he would not forget that facial expression. Alice says that it is rare for him to care about someone, and he says that it is true and that she is the only person he cares about. Next, she ends up asking him to extend his hands, and he obeys. Next, she ends up holding them. The girl asks if he can feel the warmth of her hand, and he becomes a little confused, and even asks if she is on those days. Because of that little joke, she ends up hitting his head. He says that he does feel the warmth of people, but he did not really know what this thing called emotion that everyone talked about was. However, this game is making him feel insecure and anxious, and she simply keeps staring at him. Next, she reveals that she is also feeling very afraid. She was a biology student, so dealing with death was something very natural for her. But this was on another level. She was afraid that the MC would become a serial killer, just like Lichuan. In the end, he ended up having a tragic fate, and she is afraid that the MC will also die and leave her alone. A little sad, she asks if by any chance he understood what she is trying to say. The boy, he stays there stuttering, not knowing what to say. Then she answers saying that he does not need to say anything. She only asks that he does not become a murderer, since those memories of what happened on the previous day did not leave her head. She even says that she would rather die than see our hero becoming a malicious person. Holding his hand tightly, she says that she loves him very much. She really wanted to look at him and see that sweet and sensitive person that she always saw. The girl even starts to cry, guys. Her greatest fear was that he would become a malicious person, since he never showed feelings. At that moment, he says that it would be better for them to spend the time on something happy and even invites her to go out a bit. She knew that Ning's personality would not change and he would deal with any situation in the most appropriate way possible. She had sacrificed all her time with the points so that they could stay together, and because of that they spent it at an amusement park. While she felt fear and also had fun on the roller coaster, he did not show any feeling. He even says that the Ferris wheel is very boring. She becomes discouraged, since he seemed not to like anything. Meanwhile, she says that she will buy water and asks if he would like something. At that moment, she notices that there were many people at the amusement park, and upon seeing a man selling a balloon, she has a brilliant idea and even lets out a malicious little laugh. Ning was observing everything carefully to see what those people's emotions meant, and minutes later she appears holding a balloon. She hands it to him and the boy asks what it was for. Letting out a laugh, she says that it was to cheer him up since he seemed quite sad, and even pats his head, telling him to be a good boy and wait there quietly. She was going out to buy something for them to drink, and the boy is very obedient, guys, so much so that he stays there standing still. He looks up and keeps staring at that Peppa Pig balloon. Minutes later, she returns holding a soda and an ice cream. She notices that the boy was talking with a little girl, and it even seemed that they were getting along well. She returns and hands him the Coke. And after eating the ice cream, she says that it was not as good as she imagined. She expected more because there was a very big line to buy that ice cream. Then at that moment she ends up offering it to him, and the boy remembers the past of someone offering ice cream to him. Because of that, he approached to take a bite, and after placing his mouth, she took a huge scare. He even agrees with her, saying that the ice cream did not seem to be anything special, and when looking at his friend he becomes surprised, since she was red like a pepper. Dying of embarrassment, she keeps thinking that this would be like an indirect kiss, and even says that he is very insensitive. Next he stands up and she keeps calling him an idiot. He had stood up because he received a new notification from the system. In the notification it said that they should all meet in a single place. The scene goes to a swimming gym. There was a competition happening, and when the start is given, the swimmers jump into the pool. Zhao, he was the best participant, and little by little he begins to surpass all the competitors. The girls go crazy shouting his name, and the people who are watching comment that he really was the best. The boy there in the blue hoodie even says that there are several businessmen coming there to watch his swimming, and thus he ends up winning the match. The guy raises his hand celebrating the victory. The man mentions saying that he did not know that this boy there in the blue hoodie liked swimming, and he says that he does not like it, but he was following this man. He even says that this guy's personality was crap, but he was very handsome. The guy was being photographed and he noticed it even while facing away. The boy in the blue hoodie apologizes, but at that instant he ends up being hit by a dart. The boy walks slowly toward the one in the hoodie, and after removing the dart, he said that he had already said it before. He had already said several times that he did not like having his photo taken. At the end of the competition, Zhao, he was there with his friends. At that moment, he ends up receiving a call, and it seemed to be his girlfriend. He says there that he had won, and we see that he also was part of the game. He was anxious to meet with his girlfriend, even because it had been a long time since they had seen each other. He had said that he had already taken care of everything so that no one would know that the two were dating, and he says that the love that they feel for each other cannot be stopped by anyone. In a flashback, the MC, he was still a child, and was in the room with his biological mother. He was crouched in the middle of the mess. His mother, she laments, saying that she does not have much time left to live. She wished to spend more time with Ning, and while crying she told her son that he should try to be as happy as possible, but the boy, since that time, he already did not show any kind of feeling. He picks up a piece of bread that was on the floor, and at that instant someone ends up entering the room. The boy, he was eating calmly, and the guy who entered the room, he saw that Ning's mother was dead, and she had already been dead for quite a while, guys. And they even began to blame the boy. They thought that the boy had done that and began to beat him. And while he was being beaten, everyone called him a monster. However, the boy, he had no fault at all for being born with this condition. The scene goes to the university. Alice, she was in the library. While looking for some books, a teacher appears and even asks Alice what kind of book she is looking for, and the girl lets out an awkward laugh. At the same time, she changes the subject and says that she would like to ask the teacher a question. She asks if human feelings could be deceived. This question seemed a bit strange. Then she reformulates the question, asking if by any chance the teacher thinks that humans could see something that does not exist. The teacher thinks a little about this and says that it is possible, since magicians deceive the audience through illusion. Because of that, the primary way to deceive a person is through visual effects. This worked through electronic games. Upon hearing this, Alice, she becomes thoughtful, since that monster that she saw in her dream could very well be an illusion used to deceive her. The teacher sees there some of the books that Alice was holding and comments that she has a peculiar taste. At that instant, she receives another notification saying that she should go to the square in the city within 2 hours. And that marking on her neck begins to glow in a blue color. If she did not go there within 2 hours, she would die, and the first rule of the mission was that she should kill everyone. As ordered, she goes to that place. She was a bit suspicious, and with the earphone she asks there on the call where Ning was. The MC said that they should look for information and ends up giving the coordinates of where he was. She knew that there could be many players. However, there was an event happening there in the city square, so it would be difficult to find other players in the middle of that crowd. Ning says that his opponents must also be feeling the same. Since there were many tourists, it would be difficult to find the opponents in order to eliminate them. Time goes by until finally at 5 in the afternoon, a notification appears saying that the game started. Alice tells Ning that the key to winning this game is to identify the other players. There it was, kill or be killed. Someone was holding a device, and after pressing it, a big explosion happens and begins to spread smoke everywhere, leaving our dear couple there frightened. As expected, people began to have difficulty breathing. However, the players were breathing relatively well, and Ning even wonders why that did not affect him. A child was crying near Alice. That was when she realized that that tear gas bomb had not worked on her. Because of that, she goes to a child and begins to clean his eyes. Someone ends up appearing behind her. Since that bomb did not work on the players, that guy discovered that Alice was a member of the game, and thus she ended up being restrained. The guy in a clown costume threatens her with a dagger. Someone ends up being hit and Alice's eyes widen. That is because the one who was there was precisely Ning. The guy managed to hit the clown and even twisted the knife to hurt more. The criminal said that that boy there was very fast and even starts laughing. Next, an arrow is fired in their direction. Alice tells her love to be careful. However, he is hit directly in the chest on the right side. The clown, laughing, said that the winner had already been decided. The crowd there goes into despair, running in all directions, and someone on the other side of the square was firing the arrows. She said that these were very weak. Ning ends up falling to the ground. Alice goes into despair since he was losing a lot of blood. However, the clown, he was also severely injured. Alice, she becomes furious and says that she would eliminate anyone who caused harm. However, our hero tells Alice to calm down and even says that it would be better to let the clown go away. It would not make sense to kill him now since there was an archer there trying to kill them from afar, right? He even says that it would be better for them to retreat and find out where the archer was. Some people were already prepared using masks. Alice, she asks those people for help, saying that her friend was wounded by an arrow. She even tries to touch that man, but Ning said that it would not help. It was as if the system was forcing them to fight each other without external help. He begins to lose a lot of blood and says that the best place for them to hide is that lower part of the park. She places him there on her shoulders and begins to drag him. He tells Alice that it would be better for them to stay in the middle of the crowd to hide from the archer, and with that they end up using those people there as shields. Meanwhile, he was very serious, looking ahead to see if he could find any clue of where the archer was. Alice was having difficulty dragging him, and at that moment the archer prepared to shoot another arrow. However, they were in the middle of the crowd and it was not possible to hit him. However, the archer saw an opening and ended up releasing the arrow, but ended up hitting an innocent person. And Ning realized that this archer was much more dangerous than he imagined. It seems that they do not feel anything when killing innocent people. If necessary, they would be willing to kill as many people as needed. While they were using people as shields, the archer keeps firing several arrows. She even starts to become nervous because she could not hit, and at that moment Ning realized where the shots were coming from. Meanwhile, he was leaving a trail of blood, thus the archer managed to predict their next move and managed to fire an arrow in the correct direction. However, Ning ended up dodging. Alice wondered how he managed to do that, and he said that he only discovered where the arrows were coming from. But that girl there, she became angry and fired several. All of them passed very close, but none hit. Finally, she decided that it was better to give up and retreat. Meanwhile, she wondered how it was possible for someone to dodge all of them. It seems that this Ning was a true monster. The girl realized that he was looking directly at her. Thus, they arrived at the lowest part where they would be safe. He was already without strength because the wound was hurting a lot and he had lost a lot of blood. As Alice was a biology student, she knew that that wound was very dangerous. She even says that they were identified by that team and there would not be many places to run. In response, he says that since he seriously injured that clown, it will be easy to find him again. After all, the guy was not able to walk. The clown crawled his way even to outside the park. The dagger was still stuck in his heel and the arrow was also stuck in Ning's chest. Both were severely injured. Sweating cold, he asks Alice if someone came to rescue that clown. She looks there at the edge and said that she does not see anyone. However, he was crawling out of the park. She looks at the boy and says that he is losing a lot of blood, that they need to go to the hospital quickly. However, Ning says that they need to wait to see if someone will appear, because he wanted to know if the clown was really together with that archer. While losing blood, he keeps saying that he needs to take the risk. She knew that it was useless to argue with him. At that instant, she shouts saying that yes, someone appeared. There was someone arriving there in a car. A woman got out from inside and he keeps asking if Alice can see that face. He even uses his cell phone. He tries to zoom in to take a picture and sees that it was a woman with pink hair. At that moment, he sees something that seems to be familiar and it was an earring used by that girl. He had already seen that earring before and even makes a face saying that he had already solved the puzzle. But our big boy, he had lost a lot of blood and little by little he begins to pass out. And the last thing he manages to say is asking Alice to take him to the hospital. That car had rescued the clown and they end up treating his wound. The guy gets angry asking why she was late and says that it is because the opponent was much harder to deal with and even questions if they were discovered. While taking off his clown nose, he says that they were not discovered because those players were still novices. The girl asks if her partner happened to see what Ning was capable of doing. He had calculated everything around him and even discovered where the arrows were being fired from. Besides that, he was one step ahead and even said that he would be capable of even sacrificing himself to kill them. In other words, they were dealing with someone very dangerous. Meanwhile, we see that there were other victims. The boy was desperate, and who appeared in front of him was precisely that bearded man. the man who had the scar which Lichun had mentioned, and he seemed to be one of the most dangerous players. Again, Ning, he dreams of that memory of his mother. She said that he would face many difficulties, and no matter what he went through, he should never give up. You must keep living. Those words echoed in his mind, until then he ends up waking up in the hospital. He puts his hand on his chest and realizes that the arrow was no longer there, and when he picks up the cell phone he realizes that he had been asleep for more than 4 hours. He hears footsteps in the corridor and sees the silhouette of someone at the door. He becomes tense imagining that it was a player, but who ends up opening the door is precisely Alice. He asks how much time she still has left because she is always there near him. She says that this is not important, and even says that they need to leave. He agrees, picking up his things. The scene shifts to outside the hospital. Someone quite suspicious was entering there using a crutch. Someone with white hair goes to the reception and says that he wants to visit the boy who took an arrow. The receptionist ends up giving the person's name, saying that it was someone called Nobody, and in the earphone he says there to his partner that they already discovered the place where Ning was hospitalized, and even says that they need to finish this game quickly. I do not know if you noticed, but that guy there who was dressed as a clown is precisely Zhao, the boy there who practices swimming. He had reached the room where the MC was hospitalized, and begins to look through the glass. On the other side of the door, he cannot see anything, and even comments that maybe the boy is there at the back of the room. He knew that this was the perfect chance to eliminate him. And when he opens the door, he throws a bottle and lights the match. That causes an explosion, and his boyfriend up there on top of the building waits with an arrow, because if Ning escaped he could hit him. However, the MC, he was one step ahead and changed rooms. Upon hearing the noise, he comments with Alice that they went exactly to his room, and that they fell into the trap. She was using a mask to disguise herself, and in the earphone she says to her boyfriend, right, the MC, that she arrived at the security room. The sound of the explosion ended up reaching her, and they comment that it was exactly in the room where they were. On the cell phone he tells Alice that the smoke is getting very close to where he is, and the girl gets angry with him, telling him to get out of there, because it was dangerous. On the security cameras they begin to notice a strange movement. However, Alice knocked on the door and the guy ended up opening it there to see what it was. With an innocent little face she apologized and tried to get his attention, saying that there was someone suspicious running there in that corridor. And when he goes out there from the room she ends up hitting him. The guy fell unconscious on the ground as if she had the strength to do that, right? Alice even apologized, saying that she had no other option. Next she takes a pen drive and ends up plugging it there into the computers. She was trying to identify there on the security cameras the people who attacked them. Zhao's boyfriend was called Zik, and he comments there in the earphone that it seems that no one was hit in the explosion. And of course that limping boy there gets angry. Besides that, Zik stayed outside the whole time and did not see Ning appearing at any moment. He even starts squeezing that bow very hard and comments that since the arrow hit that boy's lung, he could not have run very far. The only explanation is that maybe he transferred to another hospital, since the woman at the reception had said that Ning was hospitalized in the ICU. Zik keeps trying to figure out how they fell into that trap and even says that if they happen to discover their identities they would be screwed. It seems that they did not want people to know that they were dating guys. Later they managed to get home and use the recordings from the pen drive there to see if they discover something. Alice said that she found some suspects, since they were looking for someone who had an injured leg, and she says that she found 4 people. She even sent their image so that Ning could evaluate. In our hero's head it was about a very tall man and a woman with long pink-colored hair. However, he begins to search through the photos and realizes that that boy there using a crutch was someone very similar to someone he had already seen there at the university. Alice says that they do not need to research anymore, because she had already identified him. She says that she knew that boy, since he was someone very famous. And Ning keeps asking curiously to know who it was. She says that that boy was called Zhao and he was the international swimming champion. He was a very handsome and polite guy. Besides that, he was extremely popular. However, she says that there was a problem. In these last 3 years that they had been studying there at the university, he never had a girlfriend. What, he does not have a girlfriend, and even so is participating in the game. Meanwhile, the couple, they meet in a restaurant. Zhao, he arrives there limping, and his boyfriend asks if really no one saw where Ning and Alice escaped. He says no, saying that he did not see them passing through any corridor. And that was terrible news, because it meant that they were one step ahead of them. Zhao asks how many hours of reward they still have, and Zik says that they will use only 1 more hour, and even asks if Zhao misses hugging him. Zhao says that they cannot, but Zik says that if they happen to lose, one of the two will end up being sliced into pieces, so they would have to use that time they had together to do things they liked. And when saying that when they defeat Ning, Zhao could do everything he wanted, Zhao makes that shameless face there. Yeah guys, and thus we finished the first part of this work. I do not know about you, but I am liking it a lot. And if you made it to this part of the video, comment the secret word slaughter game. The more comments you leave, the more YouTube will recommend our video to other people. I will also leave as recommendation 2 videos here from the channel that I am sure you will like, so we will see each other there. Other than that, that is it. Thanks and see you later guys.